Okay, welcome back everyone to my video blog, and I'm excited that you're watching. Today I'm going to talk about the coronavirus, which has affected so many of us, and it has such an impact on all of our lives. It creates a lot of stress, certainly a lot of fear and anxiety and worry for so many people, and especially people that have already struggled with anxiety or stress or maybe depression. This just exacerbates some of those emotions that they're struggling with as a baseline. So what is it about this disease, this virus, that has people just really going off and obsessing about the situation? Well, one of the big things is control, which is a topic that I love talking about because I believe we have such little control over so many things in life. Well, here's a classic example. We don't have control over how this virus is going to impact our country. We don't have control over how long it's going to last, and we certainly don't have control over the ramifications and the consequences in the long run of this particular virus. Now, many people are trying to take control, and they're taking control by going out and picking up items at the grocery store, maybe toilet paper, maybe hand sanitizer. They're trying to take charge of the things that they can because they know that they don't have control over how this virus is going to affect them. So that is a real common reaction. But some people are hoarding things, and they're obsessing and dwelling on worst case scenarios. They're catastrophizing in their head what could happen, what might happen, what may happen, and it's getting them worked up in a big way. So what I thought I would do today is talk about what you can do to manage some of your stress, some of your fears, some of your anxieties, and take control over the things that you have control over and let go of the things you can't control. I'm going to go over 10 different strategies, 10 different ways in which you can cope with this coronavirus, because it is overwhelming and it is consuming so many of us. So let me go through some of the items. Now remember that the coronavirus can affect our sleep habits, it can affect our appetite and weight, it can affect our routine, and that's why it's going to be so important that we focus in on self-care. So self-care is getting proper sleep, it's eating good, healthy meals, and it's also taking care of your exercise would be a very important part of self-care. We can still go outside, we can still walk, jog, ride our bikes, but we just have to stay a distance from others. That is something that we do have control over, and in some way we can take charge. Remember, if we follow the CDC's precautions, that's also a way that we can take control. Our hygiene, washing of our hands, staying distant, a 10 feet distance from others. But something else that you can do to take control, and that is limit your exposure and your time watching TV, watching news programs, or maybe getting on the internet and researching stuff, or maybe looking at social media. That is going to just feed your anxiety and your stress level. So I am going to recommend that you limit your exposure to media. Maybe a half hour in the morning and a half hour in the evening, not multiple hours each day. Especially not right before you go to bed. you're trying to wind down, you're trying to relax, that would be the worst time to be looking online about the coronavirus or watching a news program. I already mentioned self-care, and that's so important. Taking care of ourselves, taking care of our physical, emotional, spiritual, and relational well-being. The third thing is to lean into your faith and trust in God. Maybe for some of us, myself included, it might be a time where you want to spend a little more time in the Bible, pray more than you might normally, and trust in God and trust in His care for us and His control over us and our lives. The next one is, it's so important that we keep a schedule. People need a schedule, they need structure. So maybe you're working from home, but I would recommend that you wake up around the same time and you go to bed around the same time. And you, even if you're working from home, you focus in on that work time and try to do some of the same things you would normally do. Structure, routine, schedule is going to help you. And it's also going to help your children. So try to maintain a schedule, not just for yourself, but for them as well. Another thing that's very important is staying connected to people. Through phone calls, maybe through FaceTime or Skype, but stay connected to the people that you love, that you care about. Reach out, make phone calls, talk to your social network, and don't isolate, don't completely withdraw. Even though physically we're asked to isolate, don't isolate socially or interpersonally. There's other ways of connecting other than being in a face-to-face interaction. The next thing is think about the ways in which you coped with stress, with hardship. Maybe you lost a job in the past, or maybe you lost a relationship, maybe you lost a loved one. Think about what you did at those times. Maybe there were some healthy things that you did, some positive coping strategies that you learned from years ago. Now is the time to incorporate some of that. So use the skills and the strategies that you learned from the past. Another important item, maintain a sense of humor. Watch comedy shows, listen to music, do fun things, maybe play board games with your family, but do fun things and be able to see the light side of things in all of this and in each other. We're here to support each other and take advantage of that. I think it's also important that you remember a skill, a tool that I've probably mentioned before. It's called worry time. And in worry time, you make a list of the things you can control and a list of the things you can't control. The list of the things that you can control, I'd like you to go through it and problem solve and come up with solutions for those items. We can control how much time we spend watching TV. We can control how much we exercise. We can't control the way this virus is going to impact us. We can't control the stock market. We can't control some of the decisions made by the government. So the items you can control, you problem solve and you incorporate strategies. This is the list. This is the difficult list. This is the hard list. And I'd like for you to either shred it, burn it, discard it, or give it to God. This is a list that it's so important that you let go of. And maybe you do this worry time list every day. Maybe you create 2 new lists every day. And you set aside maybe 5 or 10 minutes to go through the items and discern, what do I have control over? What do I not have control over? And if you want, go and watch the TED Talk that I had done on Rethink Control. You can find it on YouTube under Dr. Tony Ferretti TED Talk. And it talks all about how we can let go of the things we can't control, because that list is often longer than the list of the things we can control. Remember your self-talk, the thoughts you generate in your head. Don't catastrophize, because that's what a lot of people do. They get into the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? And it's their way of trying to take control and prepare. But often our what ifs are not realistic and they're not reality based. We're trying to predict the future. We're assuming that we know how things are going to progress when it's all speculation. I would encourage you to stay on the what is. Stay with today and not try to predict tomorrow, next week, next month. I know this situation is very fluid and changes all the time. But focus on today, because you have way more control over now than you do tomorrow, next week, or next month. Focus on the what is instead of the what if. And lastly, think about the silver lining. The silver lining in all of this. What positive might come out of this? I know it's hard for you to think about that. It's hard for me to think about that. But I would like for you to think, is there any positive? And we might not be able to come up with anything right now. But there's positive in everything that happens. Most everything. Not everything, but most everything. Even suffering, there can be positive changes and positive things that come from it. So maybe you make it a challenge for your family. Who can come up with the most silver lining, positive ways in which this thing, this condition, this situation has impacted us? And lastly, think about what you're grateful for. What are you grateful for in life on this day? And maybe everyone writes down one or two things each day, and you put it in a big bowl. These are the things we're grateful for, and you write them down. And at the end of the day, you read the items from that grateful bowl. It's a hard time, but we will get through it. Humans are resilient, and humans get through trauma and tragedy and hardship. We will get through it. Let's work together. Let's lean on each other and incorporate some of these strategies. Until next time, Dr. Tony Ferretti.